Hello, everyone. And today's session, we're going to discuss about the professional diploma for the Synoptic exam. And all of us, this is one of the tricky exam or very difficult exam for the level 4 syllabus. This is kind of the last exam we do for the AT, and that's the reason we have to be followed all the exam we have done before, and that is the combination of all the paper for the level 4. And this exam is quite tricky for the student who are attempting this one. Some student I have seen they done like few times this exam, still they couldn't pass. And the main reason here is a two main reason. The first one is like student don't understand what is the requirement. So the requirement is not very clear for them. So they don't understand actually what examiner asking. For example, if the question start with identify, if the question start with explain, if the question start with discuss, if the question start with critically analyze, if the question start with advantage and disadvantage. So same question can have a different meaning. So student don't understand actually what the examiner asking from this question, number one. Number two is the time. So the student feel the time pressure, and they keep reading the question, they try to understand the question, and because of that they're running out of the time. So today we're going to discuss a few questions that you really don't have to be like worry too much or think too much. As soon as this requirement you can see in the exam, you can keep writing. You really don't have to read the whole question to write few answer. You can relate the scenario to the answer, but if you think like the time is running out, so you can stay to writing and you can end up with a very good marks. So you're going to see some question what will help us really get some score, because some student they end up with like 68 69 and they fail the exam, and this technique will help them to pass the exam, obviously if they follow my advice, and obviously if they can remember all these things that may be coming in the exam. Let's have a look the examiner report first. For this year, we can see the examiner report we have here for 2021. You can see only 10% student they score exceeded for task number 3. So task 3 is one of the difficult one. Then task 4, question number 4, then question number 6, and we have question number 2. All this question, a student cannot get even more than 20%. So less than 20% student, they got exceeded. It's a very complex area, especially question number 3 and question number 4. And this question is most likely for the writing bit. Question number 6 sometimes come from the cost benefit, a little bit workings or number you have to analyze. But question number 2 and 3, like very clear, it is like a writing question. So you have to be maintain a standard to answer your question, and otherwise you will not be able to get a good score from the examiner. So question number 1 and 5 is really good. Question number 1 is ethics, and question number 5 is the ratio analysis. Most of the students, they do really good in this area and they don't fail question number 1 and 5. So we're going to talk question number 2, 3, and 6, a few area that you can memorize yourself. So you can just write it down a few times and make yourself like ready for that. As soon as you see this question in the exam, you just keep writing for that. So let's try to see some question that normally tested in the exam. So let's have a look what type of question come for this task. So we can see here from the beginning. Let's say, for example, if a question asks you identify the strength or the weakness in the strategic plan. So for example, if the question asks you about the strategic plan, what will be your answer? Remember that if the question asks you for the strategic plan, that means the question asks you for the long-term plan, not for the short term. So what business can do in the long run? For example, if the question asks you the weakness, you can say, maybe there is not sufficient information in the planning, and that could create a problem in future. So maybe you can say the operational management, they don't understand the plan properly because we didn't involve them. So that will create a problem. So this sort of question will be very precise and they'll give you like 1 or 2 marks. So you have to write like very precise sentence. So 1 line, 2 line is enough for you to get 1 or 2 marks. So the question can ask you, what is the strategic plan? What is the weakness? What is the strength? Or they can ask you, what is the impact on the company overall? So you have to understand a strategic plan is all about the long-term plan. So the question asking, what could be the impact on the long run for the business? The next one, this is very common in the exam. They said the budgetary process and the assumption. Now, budgetary process is like kind of is a fix. You really don't have to be involved with the scenario too much. Even if you can revise or if you remember this area, you can straight away write. As soon as you see the question asking you budgetary process, you can keep writing. You really don't have to see left and right. You can start writing this question. For example, it says like this, they are happier to no department involved in the budgetary process. Budget put together very like crudely, and therefore is likely to be unrealistic. And the budget is follow from the last year, so it's look like it's not going to be realistic. So this sort of sentence you can write, and every sentence you'll get a marks, even though you don't read the whole question. Just read asking for the budgetary process, you can write it, you will get the marks. The assumption area, obviously, it depends how many content we have on the budget. For example, if the first one normally sales or revenue, we can say like, oh, revenue is saying it will be increased because this is the assumption. So in the question, they will give you some assumption. They will tell you sales will be increased by 10%, cost will be decreased by 5%. So we have to criticize like how. So you need to tell like, oh, I don't think so. Enough information we have to tell the sales will be increased by 10%. I don't think so. Like the sales is increasing, but the cost is decreasing. Why? So for example, it says like sales is increasing, but they're saying the direct material, direct labor cost is decreasing. So you tell them it's look like unrealistic because if the sales or demand or the volume increase, how come the variable cost is decrease? So we have to criticize about the budgetary process. And you have to say like the variable cost has to be increased if the sales is increased. Then you have to say like the fixed cost remains same, and you can say like, is that all fixed cost is fixed? If the question give you like only the fixed cost, we can say, oh, is all fixed cost you see fixed, or is there any variable cost inside? And if the question didn't split it, you say like there is no split between the fixed cost and the variable cost. So this budget doesn't look like the realistic budget. Then the next point, the next question we'll discuss, that is for the presentation and the monitor progress more efficiently. So they're saying like, what is the presentation of the budget? So presentation of the budget. So presentation of the budget is like, you really don't have to read the question to answer this question. If you see this question come in the exam, like what is the presentation of the budget and how to monitor, like to make the progress more efficiently. So you can just write this one very quickly so that you can save your time. For example, you can say the budget should be broken down into shorter periods. So this don't have to be linked with the scenario at all. You can just write it, identify the volume, sell price, and the cost per unit, split the cost between the controllable and the non-controllable, fixed budget, flex budget according to the volume. So you can write this like 4 or 5 very quickly, and it don't have to be connected with the scenario at all. So you'll get the full marks. Then how to monitor the progress more efficiently, you can say show the last. So you can compare the budget or the actual or this year and the actual. So you can say like show the variance analysis. So you can compare like I'm doing good or bad based on my plan. And the contribution per unit, you can say how much is the contribution per unit, how much is the profit per unit. So this thing you see like this one have no link. As long as you see the question, you write the answer very quickly. If the answer is on your head, you can write it very quickly. Then we'll have the next point. This question is very common in the exam, that is said weakness of the payroll system. So this one is very common in the exam. if this question come in the exam, you can do it really, really quick. This question can give you up to 15 marks in the exam. So you can do it really quick, to be honest, because you really don't have to be relate too much. If you can, obviously you'll get some more marks. But if you think you're running out of time, or you can write this one very quickly first, then you can relate something with the scenario. For example, you can find who is the payroll manager, who is the employee, and you can write their name. You can try to connect the answer with the scenario. And of course, like before you go to the exam, make sure you read the pre-release material a few times. So for example, if it is if you're going for the vegetarian, that is like is still coming in the exam. If it is the new one, so any pre-release material that you're going to attempt the exam, you read at least five times, at least 5 times before you attempt the exam, because it will make your understanding really clear. So you don't have to read the pre-release material on the exam day, because you already know what it is. For example, the weakness, if we try to discuss what is the weakness, is the lack of knowledge on the payroll software. Then payroll software package is not fully integrated, payroll process incapable or not well trained by this step. Then department payment to employee, the double check, data input in the main accounting system, this sort of thing you can write, to be honest. Like even there's a mistake on one, if it is like not true with the link, you're not going to lose like a lot of marks. You'll lose maybe half of the marks or 1 marks, but you'll still get the full marks in the exam. So it's a very important. If they said identify the weakness of the payroll system and what could create the problem, you can just revise it a few times and you can write it straight away in the exam. And after that, you can try to link with your answer. For example, you can say what will be the impact. So how this weakness can cause a problem. So this increase the cost by effectively doubling the amount of work. So it is kind of like, you can say that. What is it? So this could be happened. And also like, you can write that. And of course, like we have like more time taken to process the payroll. So obviously, if the person don't know the payroll very efficiently, it will take more time to process it. Then, for example, we have the weakness for the, if it is not integrated, it will take more time. Then if there is a no to well-trained staff, they can make a mistake, then incorrect payment may be made to HMRC, or inaccurate information may be provided to HMRC. Maybe like the inaccurate payment can be paid to the employee as well. So this sort of thing, you can see this weakness, all this weakness, we can write straight away. For example, there is no backup. So no backup for the payroll software, and that could lead to loss the data. So all you have to do, you have to say what is the weakness and what is the basically it could create the problem. Now once you write everything, then you can read the question quickly, and if you see like, oh, something you write that's not true. For example, you said there is a no backup for the payroll software, and after reading the question you find, oh, they keep the backup. That means you just remove that line. So you really don't have to remove everything. So this technique is a very helpful. So if you already memorize everything, you write everything very quickly. After that, you read the question very quickly and you can relate it with your answer. It's very, very important. If you do that, you will not be running out of time, and rather you will have a time to revise yourself. The next one, this one sometimes very common in the exam. They said where bonus system could improved. Ways the bonus system could be improved. Now this is very common, so you just memorize it. So as long as you see this question, ways the bonus system can be improved, so you can say financial, so successful achievement. So if they can fulfill the target, you give the bonus. Non-financial, you can say the customer satisfaction, repeat new customer. Financial, based on the contribution rather than profit, and make bonus scheme for everyone. So this is the 4 you can write. If this question come, how to improve the bonus system, you can just straight away write it down. You really don't have to read the question too much. So you will get the kind of the full marks if you write that. The next question we see in task number 6 sometimes, that is like for the cost benefit analysis, and it could be like SWOT analysis as well, but it depends what sort of question comes in the exam. If this one come like cost benefit analysis, all you have to remember here, like the cost. Now the cost, obviously like the least cost, how much you paid for that product or the services, and the training cost, how much you need to spend to train your employee for the new system, and that will give you the total cost. So let's say the total cost is 10,000. And after that, you'll see what is the benefit. Now, benefit will be mainly how much savings will come to your business because you took the new system. So for example, you can say the wages will be saved, the wastage will be saved, order cost will be saved, holding cost will be saved. And let's say all the saving total is 15,000. That means your cost is 10 and your benefit is 15. So it will give you the net benefit 5,000. And you should say you should go for that product. So if they said like, should we go for the new investment or not? So if the benefit is more than the cost, you should say like, go for that. So all you have to do it like you make the plan. In the exam, they'll give you like a box. And obviously all you have to do, you have to quickly write it down how many cost you have and how many benefit you have. Remember one thing, don't take the research cost. Research cost is a sunk cost. Sunk cost means it is already happened, is already done, is already gone. So obviously you go for the project or you don't go for the project, doesn't matter because it's already paid. So do not consider the research cost as a cost because research cost is a sunk cost. Also any committed cost. For example, if you give a committed to a person like, oh, if you give me the report, I'll give you £2,000. So this is the committed cost. Even though after you receiving that report, if you don't go for the proposal, if you don't go for the project, still you have to pay this 2,000 anyway. So any committed cost or any sunk cost or research cost, do not consider that, just ignore that. So if you do that, you will lose the marks. So maybe your decision will be changed. For example, if you include the research cost here or the sunk cost here or committed cost, your cost will be higher and maybe your benefit will be minus, and you said do not invest because the benefit is lower than the cost. So very careful with that. So this sort of thing normally you're going to be seen the exam, and the main point here it was today, like few question, if you just read yourself, especially the theoretical question, if you memorize it, make yourself ready, and at the end in the exam day you really don't have to be like worry too much. You can write very quickly. Sometimes some question you have only 5 minutes or 10 minutes to finish. So in this case you just quickly write it. So in this case, even you're not going to get 100%, but you'll get at least 60 to 70% because this answer is a very relevant to that answer. So I hope like you understand what I explained today, and that will help you at least a little bit to make yourself ready for your Synoptic exam. And if you need any advice from me, you can email me always, and I'll try to help you if I can. So thank you everyone for watching my video today, and hopefully you'll have a very nice Synoptic exam.